All right, let's jump right in. I want you to think about something for a second. What if you could actually upgrade your mind's operating system? Get rid of all the bugs that lead to errors and regret? Sounds pretty amazing, right? Well, today we're going to break down an ancient algorithm that promises to do just that. It's a path to what some have called an infallible will.
Really, this is a question we all struggle with, isn't it? How do we stop making the same dumb mistakes over and over? How can we build a mental foundation that's so solid, so stable, that our actions just naturally become constructive without us even having to think about it? Let's dig into how we might get there.
So here's our roadmap. We're going to start by totally reframing the problem. Then we'll look at the mind as an interface, one that we can actually upgrade. After that, we get to the good stuff, the step-by-step algorithm to do it. We'll even run through some real-world demos, and finally, we'll see what it's like when this whole new way of thinking becomes your new default setting.
Okay, first up, a problem of structure. Now this is a huge shift in thinking. The whole idea here is that our screw-ups, our repeated mistakes, they're not a sign that you're a bad person. They're just a bug in your code.
Think about how we usually react when we mess up. We tend to see it through this moral lens, right? We blame ourselves, we say, I just don't have enough willpower. But this other approach, this systems view, flips that on its head. It says, hey, it's not a moral failing, it's a structural stability problem. It's a predictable bug in your mental operating system that just causes it to crash under certain conditions.
So, if the problem is our internal code, well, the solution has to be internal too. This brings us to our second point, the mind as interface. The goal here isn't to change the world around you, it's to change how you connect to it.
The source material really drills this down to one core principle. It basically says the entire quality of your life, everything you experience, comes down to just one thing: how skillfully you use your own mind. It's not about what happens to you, it's all about how your mind processes what happens. Now, to make this idea a little more concrete, let's use a modern metaphor: your cognitive interface. Just think of it like the software, the lens that you see the entire world through. Look, you can't control all the random data flying at you from the outside world, but what you can do is upgrade the software that interprets it all, and that, right there, is where your power is. So, how do we actually do the upgrade? This leads us straight to Section 3, the reprogramming algorithm. This is the nuts and bolts, the practical, step-by-step logic you can use to rewrite your automatic responses to pretty much everything. And the process itself is surprisingly simple. It's just a three-step loop. First, some kind of real-world trigger happens. Could be anything. You get praised, you fail at something, you see a cool car. Step 2, you intercept your normal automatic reaction. You consciously hit pause and make a vow, redirecting that initial burst of energy toward a positive, bigger-than-yourself intention. And step 3, by doing this over and over, you're literally performing a cognitive rewrite. You're carving out a new, proactive neural pathway.
Now the reason for all this is it's profound. It's about breaking free from what you could call reactive causal loops, where something happens and you're just a victim of its effect, tossed around by your emotions. Instead, you start creating proactive Bodhi loops, where every single event becomes a deliberate input for your own growth and, hey, for the well-being of others too.
Theory is one thing, but let's actually see this algorithm in action. Welcome to Section 4, Programming Your Reality. We're going to walk through a few quick demonstrations to show you exactly how you can turn your entire life into a training ground. Okay, let's start with a really common trigger. You get a compliment. Someone gives you some praise. The old code, the buggy OS, might just puff up your ego, right? Make you a little arrogant. But with the new algorithm, you catch that impulse. You use that praise as a trigger to make a vow, something like, "May all beings overcome arrogance and pride." And just like that, you've taken a personal moment and turned it into a universal benefit. Okay, now let's flip it. Let's take a negative trigger. You totally bomb something, or someone criticizes you. The old code, well, that's probably going to trigger defensiveness, maybe some anger, maybe you just feel awful. But the new code sees this as a golden opportunity. You use that sting of failure as your cue. May all beings build a resilient mind and attain true wisdom. You see what just happened there? That negative energy was instantly transformed, turned into fuel for a really positive intention. Now this is where environmental programming gets really fun, because the trigger doesn't have to be some big emotional event. It can be literally anything. Let's say you're just walking down the street and you happen to see a tall building. And that becomes your trigger.
You see the building, and you think, may all beings ascend to the tower of true understanding. Your entire environment, every sight, every sound, suddenly becomes a constant reminder, a trigger for this positive reprogramming. It's brilliant.
So what happens when you actually do this consistently, day in and day out? Well, that brings us to our final section, your new operating system. This is all about the journey from conscious, sometimes clunky practice to effortless, automatic mastery. The source material lays out this really clear progression path, calling it the chain of confidence. It all starts with faith, just believing that the system can actually work. That belief gives you the discipline to apply the algorithm consistently. And through that practice, you start gaining real insights. Over time, those positive changes in your thinking become stable, they stick around. And finally, you hit mastery, the point where your new OS just runs in the background automatically without you even trying.
And this right here, this is the ultimate shift in perspective. Your life stops being this endless game of trying to avoid the bad stuff and chase after the good stuff. Instead, absolutely everything, the praise, the criticism, the success, the failure, even that random tall building, all of it just becomes fuel for your growth. So we'll end with a powerful question for you to take with you. Just take an honest look at your own life. Right now, are you being pulled along by your environment, just reacting to whatever life throws at you? Or are you actively using that environment as fuel to program the person you truly want to become? Because the answer to that question, that can change everything.